There we go, we are live. Welcome everybody to Love Speaks Love. I'm Denise, your host, and my beautiful guest today is Scarlett, Newberry. Welcome, sweetheart.
Hi, thanks for having me.
My pleasure. And for those that don't know, if there's some of your crew watching that haven't watched before, Love Speaks Love is a platform for people to share wisdom, experiences, and for me, it was kind of a way of getting people together a little bit and making those networks that we have a bit stronger.
Mm-hmm.
And also, one of my dreams really is for people to be living from their heart.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why at the beginning, I usually do a little visualization just to make sure that we're kind of put us all in our heart space, connect our energies together. And yeah, hoping at some point that that's where we're all going to be living our lives from. And also sometimes ceremony as well. So Cara's an amazing artist. She does Theta Healing, started with NLP and psychology, and she does beautiful energy work, and her artwork is incredible, and we'll see more of that shortly. Now, I'm just going to thank you everyone for joining us. I'm just going to share in a few places. Just bear with me 1 second. Almost there, one more to go. Right, there we go. Okay, so what I normally do, as I say at the beginning, is just a little visualization to bring our awareness to our heart space and connect our hearts together. So I invite anyone who's with us either live or on the replay or on YouTube to bring your awareness to your heart space and take a few long and slow deep breaths, breathing in love. And on your out breath, you can breathe out anything of the day so far or the day ahead, anything that you're ready to let go of, anything that may be preventing you from being in this now moment. And feeling that love that you're breathing in, moving around your body, going into every cell of your body. Breathing that love deep into your DNA. Breathing it into your electromagnetic field, your aura. And if you wish to take this opportunity to send love to anybody, any situations or people that you feel need it. And as we connect all of our hearts together, connecting our hearts or extending our heart awareness out to the heart of Gaia. So feeling our awareness in the beautiful crystalline diamond heart of Gaia in the center of the earth. Feeling her nurturing love like a warm blanket surrounding our bodies, going into our bodies. And feeling her gratitude and her recognition of all of us, and gratitude for all that we are and all that we do. And connecting in with the New Earth templates and the crystalline matrix of energy that emanates out from the beautiful heart of Gaia. And extending our heart awareness out now to the heart of the sun. Connecting in with those solar frequencies and feeling those solar energies moving into our bodies, into our hearts, into our solar plexus, into every cell. And extending our heart awareness out to connect with Source Creator. And feeling all of our hearts beating as one. And recognizing that we are all in one collective, connective, unified field of love. One heart, one love. Opening our eyes if they're closed whenever we're ready.
I needed that. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know what the energies are like today. I don't know if you kind of pick up on the energies, but I've been a bit all over the place today.
Yeah, me too. So that was perfect. I was like, oh my gosh, I feel so scattered. And so that was a blessing. Thank you.
Yeah, finally, for the first time today, I'm like, oh, I'm here. I'm in my body.
There I am.
Yeah, and I've had to do some like official things, forms and post offices and that kind of thing. And that just, yeah, I don't function very well when I have to do things like that.
Me too.
So, yeah, I'd much rather be in the garden and just, talking to the trees.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about, maybe just a little bit about your journey and how you've come to be doing, what you're doing now, and perhaps some of the steps that have brought you to this place, if you're happy with that.
Sure. So I grew up in a very psychic family, but they were also Mormon. So it was a very odd way that I was raised, where we were very open about psychic experiences that we would have. Every morning at breakfast, we would talk about the dreams we had that night and to see if they would come true. And it was just very, very acceptable to talk about that kind of thing. And my mom was just incredibly scary psychic, which is really difficult when you're little and you're trying to get away with things, and she can see, where you were, who you were with, all that kind of thing. So it was neat growing up that way, but also being Mormon, it was difficult because we only had so many things that were acceptable. After a certain point, that's when the rules kind of came into play, and so it was kind of like a ceiling. So at about the age of 30, I ended up leaving the church. There's the Saturn, what's it called? Saturn returns?
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
So I think that's what happened. And I ended up leaving the church, and a lot of the psychic gifts that I'd kind of put kind of on the back burner and not fully used started to show up. And I really attribute it to having learned to meditate. Because when I learned to meditate, I was, maybe you're this way, when you learn something new, you do it like in excess. So I was like meditating like 4 hours a day sometimes. And that's when I started to have visions, and I would see things, and I'd see people I knew, and they were doing different things, or they're in trouble, and I'd call them, and it would be really happening. And so that was kind of where I realized, oh my gosh, I have a thing. I have something magical that I can do, but I couldn't really do it on command. I couldn't do a reading. I couldn't like say, hey, I'm a reader, come to me and I can read you. It was kind of just, showed up when it wanted. But then after a few years of really working with a mentor and also getting to know myself better, trusting myself more, I was able to start actually utilizing those gifts on command when I wanted to. So it's just been really in the last 10 years that I've really been able to do this, like have an actual tool to use and work on people with.
Yeah, beautiful. And were you always good at painting? Is that something that you've done always?
No, it's such a cool story, really, because, I don't know if you've ever seen, it's a little cartoon that I saw a while back, and it was this little kid, and Jesus is in front of him, and he's asking for his teddy bear. Jesus is like, give me your teddy bear. And it's a little tiny teddy bear, and the kid doesn't want to give it to him. But if you look behind Jesus, he has this huge teddy bear that he's like holding behind him. So as soon as that kid hands over the little one, he has something like 10 times the size. And I feel like that's what happened with painting, because growing up, I never painted. I didn't draw. I didn't, nothing. I wrote a lot, but I was not really very artistic. But then when I hit that 29 mark, 30 mark, I ended up leaving the church, divorcing my first husband, um, leaving my hometown, all these things that I was very scared to do, and kind of left kicking and screaming. And it was very difficult. But once I gave up this life that wasn't working for me, it was within a couple of months that all of a sudden I picked up, some old paints and brushes from college that I'd have to take like an art 101 class. And I was good immediately, which is crazy. I was shocked when I realized I could paint, because it wasn't like, step one, step two. It was like from step one to step like 100, where I was just naturally really good. And I don't think I would have discovered that if I hadn't first given up all of these things in my life that were kind of holding me back and not working.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Wow, that's amazing. And I've seen, we are going to show some of your paintings shortly, and I remember seeing in some of the posts that you've done. Did you do one of your daughter?
I've done so many of all my daughters.
Yeah. Yeah, and just to say as well, 6 children in the house, is that right?
4 in the house. 2 of them have moved to Tucson to be with my parents. They're older. They're wanting to do college and see something different. So, but the 4 girls are here. Yeah.
So what ages do you have at home?
At home, I have from 7 years old to almost 18. And then my oldest son is 24, almost 24. Wow. So all the kids is from 7 to 24. So I have a lot of big range.
Okay, so at what point in this did you study psychology? Was that something that you did straight from like college?
Right out of high school, I got married, like right out of high school, and ended up getting pregnant right away. And then I started college pretty close after that. And it was kind of funny. My parents, I didn't really, I was like 18, I was really young. And my parents just sat me down one day and they're like, we're going to pay for your college, but you need to decide right now while you're sitting in this chair what your major is going to be. And I was like, I don't know. So I just picked psychology because it sounded fun. So I ended up doing that. And it was a really good, what I like about having a degree in psychology, it's not that I use the information so much, but people who are not used to doing, energy healing and that kind of thing, when they know that you have some background in like, science and psychology, I feel like they feel a little more comfortable coming to me because of that. It's kind of like a baby step to get them to try the bigger stuff. So.
Yeah, my background's nursing, so I hear
cool.
that one. So yeah, so I kind of like had that idea of what the body was from that perspective, and then actually learned Reiki when I was still nursing. And that to me was a big turning point, having a Reiki treatment for me, because I was quite left brain. I was quite scientific really in how that I viewed the world. Yeah. So when I had a Reiki treatment and could feel the energy and could feel the difference in myself before and after, like that was the biggest thing. And it didn't fit in my model of what the world was. So from that point, that was when I started to kind of remodel my model of the universe, really, which sounds, in a way it was huge, but it actually wasn't. It was a very easy process really to go through. Yeah, so that was kind of where I started with this. And then when I moved to Australia, which was a couple of years later, I intended to nurse too. But didn't straight away. And I learned lots of different extra healing modalities. So I learned kinesiology and I learned Theta Healing as well.
Yeah.
So that leads me into your recent experience with Theta Healing. How did you come across Theta, and what does it mean to you? And if you could just, for people that don't know what it is, if you could just explain, a little bit about it.
Okay. Theta Healing, I was introduced to it when I first started working with my mentor about 5 years ago, and she used it on me because that's her main modality that she uses. She's a channeler, but that's kind of the, more structured way that she works on people. And so she'd been using it on me for a lot of years. And when you work in that capacity with somebody, you kind of pick up on, okay, I think this is what they're doing. And I started kind of using my own version on my clients, and it was working really well. But when I took this training recently, it was a 3-day training. It was like 10 hours a day. It was really intense, but I was able to learn more step by step and just a much cleaner way than I was doing it. That didn't burn off, my third eye, because I'm starting to realize that a lot of the time when we do readings on people, like past, present, future, whatever, we can put all our energy here, and it can be very exhausting, and we can have like burnout that way. It's a lot harder to go this way versus this way up. So my teacher showed me how to do that instead, where when I want to access information, I'm not like, trying to grab it from here, that I just very easily kind of tap up through the different dimensions until I reach a very clear and clean dimension that God lives, is what I was told, that's where source lives. And once we reach that dimension with our consciousness, all the answers are there, and we just have to be open to them and ask and trust that they're coming. So that was kind of the biggest thing that changed in my practice with Theta, was going up versus out. And for those who don't know what Theta is, the main thing that you use it for is belief change, where I know that if y'all have studied law of attraction stuff and things like that we know that some of the basis of our physical ailments are our beliefs. And so it's really a way of tapping into what the core beliefs a person has and how it is contributing to physical ailments that they're experiencing, or just different, problems in their world, whether it's money or relationships and things like that. So it's a matter of pulling out the old belief, whether the belief is, I need to give away my power for people to like me, or you pull out that belief and you implant it with something new and something better.
And it's really interesting with beliefs, because we can have completely diametrically opposed beliefs and be working from both of them. So, because they're not just beliefs that we've come to hold in this lifetime, they're beliefs that we can be born with. They're things in our DNA, they're things from our past lives. And I feel that we absorb a lot, in the collective field as well. Like, we do absorb a lot during our lifetime, but it's like we come in with a heap of beliefs too. So, for example, money, you can believe, for want of a better word, money is evil, and at the same time that money is good. And then when you're working from both of those, it's not surprising that you're sending out, like a confusing message to the universe, so that can reflect a confusing message back to us.
Right. Yeah.
So do you, and I just ask this because I'm not sure how much Theta, the way that Theta is taught, has changed since I did it, because it's 16 years ago, I think, that I learned Theta. Wow. Wow. So we used to muscle test the body.
Yeah.
So just talk us through that, if you would, like how
that is a problem I have. Muscle testing and me have not become best friends yet, and I've really given it a go. I'm very good at muscle testing. For those who don't know, it's also called kinesiology. It's using your body to give you yes or no answers. Generally, yes or no, just generally. And so you would ask your body a question, and then you would see how your body reacts. And there's different ways to kind of see how your body is answering that question. The easiest one for me is that you'll just stand up, very balanced on both feet, very grounded to the floor, put your hands by your arms, and then make yourself very loose, kind of loosey-goosey, and ask the question. And, generally a yes or no question is best. So I would ask, is this vitamin healthy for me to take? And if you fall forward, generally that would be a yes answer. And if you fall back, then generally that'd be a no. But just like when you're using a pendulum, I don't know if y'all use those, but with a pendulum, it's not necessarily always going to be the same for everybody. So you want to ask before you try that technique, what is my yes? What does yes look like for me? And what does no look like for me? And then, so that's just I use it at the grocery store all the time. If I'm trying to get something for my daughter, I think it might hurt her stomach, I'll put the milk down and say, is this healthy for my kid? And do the front back thing. But there's other ways to do it where it's not your full body, and you can do kind of like pulling your fingers apart. And a yes would be, keeping your fingers that they stay very closed when you try to pull them apart. And then if it breaks easy, then that would be a no. But that's one that is, I'm just not getting that one yet. So.
Yeah, that's the one that I use, and we were kind of taught to do it like that, but always feels uncomfortable for me. Yeah. So I actually do it that way. So if I can't decide, if I'm in a cafe or something and I can't decide between certain choices, I'll ask my body what my body wants. So yeah, show me yes and show me no. So the no finger goes through. And I think there may also be, in the same way, when you're holding a pendulum, I feel sometimes I'm affecting the answers. If I've got an emotional kind of an emotional connection to the question, or if for me emotions are involved, I'm not sure if I always trust it. But this does work pretty well for me.
Yeah, I'm very careful with pendulums. I only use them maybe once a month, if that, because people can, I feel, get very dependent on them because it's so easy to just, oh, it's going in a circle, then I'll do this thing, But I find that with any tool, like divination tool that you use, if you use it in excess, it starts to become really funny and the answers get really weird, because I always feel like that's us being invited to tap into our wisdom versus use something outside of us. So yeah, I'm careful with pendulums too.
Yeah, I'd love you to expand on that a little. So, okay, so the clairs, we've got claircognizance, where it comes in as a thought, and I always feel that comes into my crown, claircognizance, and you just know, even if it hasn't come in as a thought, you just kind of know the answer to it. Clairvoyance, your third eye. Sentience, which to me I kind of feel lower solar plexus. That's if I'm tuning into my gut, that's kind of where I feel it, a little bit in the space between solar plexus and, like, if they were two circles, like I tend to go to the overlapping bit, so not quite as low as my navel, but not right up here, like somewhere in between.
Okay, I like that.
And clairaudience, where you will like hear the answers.
Right.
So yeah, if you weren't using your pendulum, how would you gauge a yes, no, or your feeling about something?
I think you're just kind of, I always tell my clients, especially new ones that are trying to tap into their intuition, and I've had people kind of fight me on this, but this is what I feel, that the thing that has helped me the most, and I encourage other people to do, is to learn to meditate. And not necessarily with a recording or like a guided meditation or even with music in the background, but really learn to get to know your own thoughts. Because once you sit with your thoughts, you can start to tell the difference between the chatter and the things that are just kind of, energy swirling around versus your soul and what your soul is telling you to do. And I always equate it to, if there's twins, like a set of really cute girl twins, and they're trying to trick one of their boyfriends into going out with the other identical twin. And so maybe one of them answers the door, and she's pretending she's the other one. How's the boyfriend going to know that that's his girlfriend if they look identical? And I always say that he needs to know what that person feels like and what the words that she would actually say to say, okay, this is actually my girlfriend and this one is not. And so when we're sitting there in, quietude, meditating and listening to those different parts of us, you get really good at knowing what is just banter and chatter and what is your soul. And so that's how I hear things, is just knowing which voice is which is the main thing. Another way that I tap into things, so it's claircognizant really, clairaudient, where I'll almost hear a voice from, I would say like my right side, maybe a foot above my head, I'll hear like actual talking. And so that's one of the main ways. And then the other way is actually visioning things, where when I tap in, I'll be able to often see kind of a little screen pop up. And then I watch like a little movie of whatever's happening with the person. So yeah, I mean, it's just like with tarot cards. I do tarot card readings and I charge very little for those tarot card readings, because I tell people, you know, this is a tool that I'm using, and a lot of the time I can tap in very well and get big information, but I trust my readings with no tools way more than I trust the ones that when I use tools. I trust it a lot more because there's no interference. It is me talking to God or talking to my higher self, which maybe is God also. And that's very, very clear once you can get good at just listening, you know.
Yeah, nice. I used to get, especially when I was trying to work on my clairvoyance, because it took a while for that to come in. And I think sometimes I'm really grateful now that it took a while, because I feel that if I just saw the answer, then I wouldn't have fine-tuned my other clairs as much. But because it was a bit harder for me to trust my claircognizance or clairsentience, I think I worked on those a lot more. So they're my primary ones. But when I was trying to like be more clairvoyant, if it was a yes no, I'd have like a yes and a no flat in front of me, but one of them would kind of go brr, like come out. So the yes would either come out or the no would come out, like in my vision. And then once I learned a muscle test, I probably would maybe clarify it with like a muscle test too.
Yeah.
But you kind of just know, like when I was doing readings, if it didn't feel right, like your body kind of just feels a bit icky inside. It's just like, ugh, it doesn't give you a comfortable feeling. If people had decisions to make, I'd maybe say to them, imagine you're holding each decision in your hand. Which one is just sitting there comfortably? Or imagine you're wearing the decision. Is one of them really comfortable, or is one of them a bit scratchy, a bit itchy, and like, you know, not feeling as pleasant to wear? Or like two forks in the road, one of them you might be able to see down that road really clearly, but the other one might be, you know, a bit foggy or a bit hazy or whatever. Yeah, that's how I kind of started to do it. So do you use the traditional tarot?
I do. It's so funny. I bought my first pack of tarot cards when I was 14. You know, I was very sneaky about it. So, because I wasn't supposed to have something like that, and I still use that deck from when I was 14. So I've had it for like 30 years, or not quite 30, but a long time. Yeah.
So I think this links in with your paintings as well, but so one of the posts of yours that I noticed was you talking about Mary Magdalene, and you were about to do like a workshop. That might be not quite the right word, but you were about to get people together, do a gathering and share about Mary Magdalene. So I would love to hear of your experiences with Mary Magdalene, Mother Mary, and the Black Madonna, and how they kind of came into your life, how you, whatever you want to share, like around how you work with them, how their energies to you as well, like whatever you want to share on that. I'd love to hear.
That is just my favorite thing right now, and it has been for maybe the last year. I've just been diving so deep into the Marys, and since I was really little, I lived near Mexico when I was growing up. And again, I was Mormon, so we weren't allowed to worship Mother Mary, but I lived close to the border of Mexico, where Mary was everywhere. Everywhere you went, there was paintings, and people had big, like these humongous medallions that I have now. And so I would see that, and I had this real craving to connect with that, to buy a statue and to, you know, wear a Mary medallion, but I wasn't able to. So when I left organized religion, I started painting her and doing these things that had been in my heart for many years. And especially when COVID happened, I feel like that was the big transition where I started really feeling the Marys with me, and they were the thing that would keep me calm. And I started using a rosary, which was really, really life-changing. And I actually taught, when I taught the Mary Magdalene class, I taught about Mary Magdalene and the rosary, because I wanted to show people that they could use the rosary for things other than Catholic prayers, and that they could connect with many different energies through the use of the rosary. So I started praying with the rosary, and that really solidified my connection to the Marys. Mary Magdalene, it was really hard for me to want to start teaching about her or reading about her because of how trendy her story was. And I don't like to be part of trends, you know? And so because there's so many women out there, or people in general, that, oh, I channel Mary Magdalene, and I have a Mary Magdalene priestess program and all these things. And so I was like, I am not doing any Mary Magdalene stuff. I'm going to do this other thing, not that. But it just got to the point where she was coming into my field so strongly that I just felt like if I keep pushing this away, then something in me that needs to heal, I think, through this is not going to. And so I had to eventually just release and let her energy come in and start to work with her and learn about her. And the Black Madonna, oh my gosh, that I have not talked a lot about her yet, because I'm teaching my last class on her in a month. But the way she came into my life was just exactly how she should have come into my life, because she's very mysterious, and she's there for times when we are really at our lowest, and when we are most broken is when she shows up. And I had never heard of the Black Madonna. I had been Mormon. I barely knew about Mary, you know? And so again, when I turned 30, when I was in the 29-30 stage and I was leaving my church, getting divorced, I was in my hometown for a year without my children, because my ex-husband had moved to a different state where his family lived, so he could kind of start setting up his life there. And so I was by myself, and I would see the kids, you know, on and off, but I was, for the first time in my life, by myself. And when it came down to where I was going to move to be with my kids, I went to an old used bookstore so I could get like some CDs for the drive or something like that. And I walked in, and there was this statue there. And it was this old antique, you know, dusty statue about this tall. And it was a Mary that was Black with a baby that was Black. And I was like, what is that? I'd never seen anything like that. And I was like, is this from Africa? Is this what the Catholics like, I just had no idea why someone would create that. I'd never seen anything. And I bought it, not knowing what it was. And I brought it home. And then I went to move. And when I moved to the new state, within a few weeks, I went to a different secondhand shop and I found another one. And these are so rare that in all of my 42 years, I've only found 2. And it was only within that month. Wow. And later when I realized, oh my gosh, this is a real thing. Like the Black Madonna is not just some weird, you know, statue that someone decided to create. This is a real energy that has been around for many hundreds of years, thousands of years. And that she comes to you when you need her the most, when you're going through your dark, dark night of the soul. And that's when she showed up in my life. So without me even, so it wasn't me that went to her, you know, she found me, which I'm very, very grateful for. So she's a huge, huge part of my story and my life.
The Black Madonna isn't something that I know that much about. Like it's a term that I've heard, but it's not an energy that I've knowingly connected with.
Yeah.
And I think I saw something the other day, and I can't even remember what I was watching, some documentary that I think was saying that the Templars had a lot to do with the introduction of the Black Madonna, particularly in parts of Europe. So that's really interesting. And you're saying thousands of years old as well. So this is like...
It was about the first one that was made that they found that they were like, okay, and they kind of dated it back to when it could have been made. It was about 400 years after Christ's death. So, you know, not thousands of years, but like, you know, almost.
Yeah.
It's been like maybe 1500 years. It's been, you know, they've been around for a really long time. And I think the reason why people see this is the reason why I would really like to teach a very expansive course on all of these women instead of just an hour long for each, because you just cannot cover what you need to cover in an hour. But the Black Madonna, when I started really trying to understand who she was, I was really frustrated because I'd go to real experts and be like, okay, who was the Black Madonna? And they would give me these weird answers. And I was like, tell me, is she Mary Magdalene? She's Isis, you know? I just wanted someone to just say, this is who she was. And the more that I've studied and studied and studied, I realized why no one can tell me, because there isn't just one answer, that she represents many different goddesses, that she represents many different stories. And she's almost kind of a reflection of us, of what we're going through at the time. And I'll tell you a really quick story, because you did mention the Templars. This is so funny, but it's just been the last few months I've really been like reading up on her and taking, like, really diving deep. And I kept hearing that there was this place called the House of the Black Madonna. I think it's called the House of the Black Madonna in Prague. And that there's this very famous statue of her in Prague on the street, outside on the busiest street of Prague. You know, she's kind of on one of the buildings, like positioned on one of the buildings. And I was kicking myself because I was like, man, when I was really a young mother, I went to Prague and I missed it. I didn't see her, you know, but then when I started looking at the pictures, I realized I had, and that I had been on the street and there was this weird Black Mary statue in a cage. And she was kind of hoisted up on one of the buildings. And her story was that she used to be in a Templar temple that was in, or a Templar church that was in Prague. And when the Templars were being killed and exterminated, that church was burned. And they say that she was like the only thing that didn't burn. And so again, it was another kind of testament for me personally, that she's been following me around and she's been with me for most of my life, whether I knew it or not, you know.
And if you were to tap into her energy, because to me there's a difference. If I tap into Mary Magdalene's energy, there's a difference between her and Mother Mary and Isis, for example.
Right.
Could you put that into words even?
You know, I haven't said this out loud, but this is what I feel about those three energies. And I want to eventually write a book. I'm finishing up my first book, but I want to write a book about the Marys, because the way that I see them is I see Mary Magdalene as the maiden. Yeah. I see Mother Mary as the mother, and I see the Black Madonna as the crone. And so it's those three aspects of goddess energy. And so I see Mary Magdalene as this energy we can call upon when we're being persecuted, or we're trying to do something really hard and scary that's not in our nature to do, and we need that extra boost of power and confidence. Mother Mary, I feel that just like a mother would be, that you go to her when your children are having a hard time, when your heart's broken, when you're having problems with your husband, these kinds of things. And then the Black Madonna, I feel she's for the really heavy, big stuff, you know, divorces, loss of children, of family members, of addictions that you might go through, the things that feel too ugly to share in the light and say, this is what I'm going through, those things that are shameful for us, that we don't want other people to know about us, that she can see those things and accept us anyways. And when we feel that acceptance and love, despite all of our shortcomings, then that's when we can start to heal. And I do believe that Mother Mary has that same energy, because I believe that Mother Mary, a lot of the people who study her, worship her, they see her as very docile and kind of wimpy and gentle and all these, but I also feel has that power to hold everything, the hardest things that we go through, that she understands, and that she's there to hold us in that.
Yeah, I love what you say there, and I mentioned this to you the other day, that for me, Mother Mary was almost like, Mary Magdalene's kind of a bit more subversive, a bit more dangerous. So, a lot of people want to tap into that more dangerous side. And to me, Mother Mary just held this energy. I imagine her looking like a nun. Obviously, nuns took that look with just, a little bit of her showing, like clothed up to here and kind of a bit prudish, really.
Yeah.
And it was a Regina Meredith interview with someone, I can't remember her name, but she was being interviewed. She'd written a book about Immaculate Conception, and she said
I watched that. It was so good.
And she said that same thing, that she'd never really connected with Mother Mary. And when she said it, I went, oh, I realized that I'd done the same. And then I felt this force field, this force of an energy come in, that was so, so loving and funny as well. Like very,
Really?
like, because I was like, I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry. I thought you were like a prudish nun. And I'm like, I'm sorry. And she just thought that was really, really funny, you know?
Right. I don't know if you've ever read that book, Witch. Have you read that by Lisa Lister? Oh, it's so good. But she has the most hilarious story, and I don't know if I'm allowed to swear on here if I quote it directly. I'll tweak the swear word. But she says that she was in Glastonbury at some point, the author, and that she came upon the statue of Mary, but the statue didn't have any hands. And she says, and I asked the statue, you know, why don't you have any hands? And the statue said back to me, because I'm tired of holding this bullcrap story that I'm this sweet, docile, virginal, blah, blah, blah. I'm tired of holding that, and I'm not holding it anymore. And so I loved that. And I've thought about that a lot since. But one thing about Mother Mary is that she does have a gentler energy than Mary Magdalene. And I feel like part of me, for me personally, I've connected more with Mother Mary versus Mary Magdalene, because I think I already have, I do have some harsh energy. I'm a fighter, you know, and I'm naturally rebellious. And maybe I don't need to focus on Magdalene. Maybe that's not the energy that's missing, you know, and maybe the softness and the gentleness is the energy in me that I need to foster a little bit more.
Interesting. And Isis I've connected with for a long, long time as well. And whenever I just see lots of gold, whenever I kind of feel into Isis energy, like she is gold. I don't see her with skin color. I see her as gold, and just like this gold radiance coming towards me. And in a way, I feel she holds that crone energy too.
Yeah, and you know what's so funny, because Isis, I mean, if you research the Black Madonna, one of the main theories is that the Black Madonna came from Isis, because Isis was always pictured black, and she always had her little Horus on her lap that was black, and that there is a direct link between Egypt and the Black Madonna. And so a lot of people believe that it's just kind of an offshoot of Isis, and Carl Jung believed that too, which anything he says is probably true.
I would love to see your paintings.
Okay, I just grabbed two, just since they were on hand. Hopefully the light's okay. Let me see. So here's one of the Marys. This is actually my sister. So I use a lot of my friends, and I'll try to find friends that I feel kind of have that energy about them, of whoever I'm painting, and then I'll ask if they'll pose for me. So that was my sister. And this is a good friend of mine who actually does channelings of Mary Magdalene. I don't know if this is, yeah, okay, it's going to show. So this was my Mary Magdalene. I know the light's not amazing. It's raining today. But I put the Ouroboros above her head instead of a halo. I just felt that she needed something a little, I don't know, more interesting, a little bit more significant than a halo. So I use those paintings to make altar candles. So here's a Mary Magdalene altar candle that I made. The ones I sell the most are Mary Magdalene. Everybody loves Mary Magdalene. And one that I recently made, I know most people won't get it, and that's fine, because when I make these, they're for me. And if anybody likes them, awesome, I'll make some more. But if they don't, that's fine. So this one I had made of, I don't know if you can see it. It's Sarah Tamar. If you research a little bit about Christ and Mary Magdalene, there's a belief that they had a daughter. They had 3 children, is what as the story goes, and that the oldest was a daughter, and her name was Sarah Tamar. And so I wanted to kind of make something to symbolize the other story that could have been theirs. You know, who knows? We don't have any like solid proof, but I believe it.
Wow. Yeah, I have a friend called Tamar, actually.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, who now lives in Utah.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, I met her in Australia. That's interesting to know where her name originates from. So when you make your scented candles, what do you do with them? Like, what you put essential oils in there?
I actually don't scent them because a lot of people, you know, what one person loves for scent, another person's not going to like. And so I just have decided to just have them fragrance free, but I do put Reiki into them before I send them out. And, you know, I had just, with making these candles, it wasn't something that I had ever thought I would do a business with. I had literally just thought it would be cool for my sister, who I'd done, you know, Mary of the Mary painting. I was like, wouldn't it be cool if she had her own altar candle of herself as Mary? Wouldn't that be amazing? So I just made it for her, and other people had ended up seeing it and really liked it. So that's what I use. I've also made like a panther candle, panther medicine candle, because that's my spirit animal. And so when I go to meditate, depending on what energy I'm trying to connect with, if I feel like I really need Mary Magdalene energy, or I need a comforting hug type energy of Mother Mary, then I'll light that candle. Or if I need panther energy and something ferocious and, you know, kind of intuitive, then I'll light the panther candle. And so, yeah, so that's how I use them.
Nice. Yeah, I used to have some Reiki candles years ago. They were beautiful. Like the energy that came off them was just amazing. So if people, do you do sessions online?
I do, especially since COVID. So I've become very good at Zoom, and it's so much fun. I was really intimidated because I'm not great with technology, but when push come to shove and I had to figure out how to do classes online and all that kind of thing, it's been really a blessing, and it's been really fun to be able to connect with people in Ireland and Canada or whatever. So yeah, I do sessions online.
So what could somebody expect? And I know every session is different, but what's like the feel of sessions with you? How does it kind of like go?
So it depends on what kind of session you want. As I said, I do tarot readings, which are very fun. You know, they're fun, and you can get some questions answered, but it's not going to be super going deep into belief changes or, oh, this problem is stemming from this childhood event that took place, that kind of thing. So I do kind of more superficial tarot readings, which are helpful if you're not going through something very, you know, difficult and traumatic. But generally, when people are really going through hard things, I ask them to maybe schedule a clairvoyant reading. So what will happen in that, it's my the way that I work is a little bit weird, but I'll talk to them on the phone or on Zoom, and they'll just kind of give me a few ideas of what they want me to look at. So I have some sort of direction. And so maybe they'll say, I need help with work. I don't have a job. What's the next step? Or me and my spouse are not doing well. What do you think would help? That kind of thing. And I'll take their questions down. Then I will go in my meditation room by myself. And I do almost trance channeling, and I don't like to do it in front of people because I'm just shy with it, because I really like have to be in it. And so then after I come out of it, I'll type them usually 2-page letter on the computer of everything that came up during the session. And during that session, I'll also look at their energy field and scan it and see, oh gosh, it looks like, you know, your throat chakra is really closed, and kind of why would that be, and kind of rebalance things, but also let them know why certain areas are closed off. I can also, and girl, I'm telling you, since COVID, this has been like the main thing that I'm doing is clearing people of like attachments.
Yeah.
Because since COVID, people that I've worked with for many years who never had anything like that are having that. And so I've done a lot of house clearings, which I can do remotely, and a lot of just clearing of people's energy of different attachments that have kind of latched on to them through the fear that we're going through with all the chaos and ups and downs and never knowing, you know, where we're going to land tomorrow. People have really opened themselves up to kind of being vulnerable to that stuff. So just recently, I've been doing a lot of that too. And so then if people want to contact me afterwards, after I send them, you know, their reading and let them know this, that, whatever is what we worked on and did, if they want to contact me with more questions, then I'll talk to them on the phone at least one more time and give them some feedback.
I'm just curious about this. When you do your clairvoyant reading, do you record yourself, or do you actually remember? You remember what's
It's crazy because it's hard to remember because it's like waking up from a dream. Yeah. So I'll tell all my kids, like, don't say anything for the next hour, don't make any noise. And I'll go and do my meditation. Then I'll run to the computer and just type it as quick as I can, because if anyone talks to me, I'll forget everything.
Yeah.
So, but if I do it quick enough, I can get everything down.
So I'm curious as well about the trance channeling. Was that something that just, because when I channel, I don't, even when I'm doing light language, I'm still, it's like I'm in the back room. I've kind of stepped back a little bit,
Right.
but I'm still very present,
right,
in there as an observer, as a witness of what's going on. How did that start for you? And are you, because a lot of trance channelers will speak a lot of stuff. Does that come through you, or are you just shown a lot of things?
Yeah, it's not necessarily that an energy enters my body and, you know, speaks through me, because it's not that I'm channeling an energy.
Yeah.
It's a channeling information. So it's not a specific energy that's going to work through me. I'm channeling information. So I have to really shut down everything. So I don't even know where I am anymore, kind of, and then access what's going on, you know, in the ethers. So, and I don't speak it. It's just, it is like being in a different place for a while, where I'm visiting like a different realm, and I'm walking around, and often I'll have the person that I'm working with, I'll have their higher self with me, and they're kind of taking my hand and showing me, almost like, it always reminds me of on the Christmas Carol, you know, where the ghosts are taking Scrooge to see, oh, here's you when you were little, and here's you. It's almost like that, where they'll take my hand and show me, see, this is what I went through, and this is, you know, what might help me in the future. And so it's kind of like that. So, but if someone were to talk to me during when I'm doing that, I wouldn't, it would take me half an hour to get back into it. So it is a trance that I'm in, where I can't, if it's broken, then I have to start over, you know.
Yeah, wow. And do you ever do commission paintings for people, or is this?
I do. I do a lot of them, actually. My favorite thing to paint is really pretty women or kids, because kids are so cute. But once in a while, I'll have somebody ask me to paint a man or a pet. I get a lot of pet portraits too, but rarely will anyone ask me to paint something that's like a spiritual piece or an ascended master or something like that. It's usually a family member or themselves. But yeah, I do.
This was dropping in before our conversation, and it's nudging me to share it now. Do you ever see people's spirit guides?
I do sometimes, and it's really funny, because sometimes when I'm reading somebody, certain people, and I'm talking about up here, when I'm talking with them here, and I'll be like, okay, what's going on with you, blah, blah, blah. Certain people won't want to talk back. They won't want to help me, you know? And so a lot of the time when that happens, their spirit guide will come in and talk to me instead. And they'll be the one that takes me and shows me this, that, whatever. And often the person is with them, but they just won't speak. And usually it's because they've never done a reading like that before. And so they're still like, you know, kind of like nervous about it. Or they're going through so much that they just are like, if I emote, if I share, it's just going to be too much. So I feel like they're just overwhelmed. So a spirit guide will come and be the one that actually helps me to get the information.
Have you ever considered doing spirit guide paintings?
I have never thought to do that. No. That sounds really fun though.
Yeah, years ago I knew someone who used to do that.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I should paint mine. I've thought about painting my spirit guides, but I very seldom paint for myself. So someday when I feel a little bit selfish and self-indulgent, I will do that.
How long would it take you to do, say, one of those paintings that you've got there?
These ones that are just kind of faces, they're not, you know, you don't really have much of a hand. It's just a face. Probably take me about 20 hours, which I know it's a long time still, but you know, it's not that long. The bigger paintings that are more full bodied, that can take me up to 40, 50 hours. Just can take half a year to paint those.
They are so realistic. I remember the ones that I've seen that you've shared. It's like, wow, that's a painting. That is incredible. I mean, obviously I don't know what your sisters look like, but those look like real people, those paintings, and I'm sure they look very much like who they're supposed to. I think that's incredible. And that you've not had that formal training either, that you can just do that is, yeah, I find that amazing. Would there be anything else that you would like to share about? So you've got the Black Madonna thing coming up.
I do. It's in 4 weeks, and I'm actually probably this weekend I will actually like put out a little flyer or something about it, and have everybody be able to put it on their calendar. But yeah, I have been teaching every couple of months. I've taught a class on the Marys, and this is the final class that I'll be teaching on them. And after that, what I'd like to do is to do like a course where you can buy, you know, just the course on Mary Magdalene or just the course on Black Madonna or all of them together, and really have it where you dive deep into where did Mother Mary go after the crucifixion, and Mary Magdalene, where did she come from, and how many children did her and Christ have, and what was their journey through Great Britain and France, and, you know, really dig deep. So this is kind of just to test the waters, because before I taught these little classes, I really thought maybe I was the only one who was really into this stuff. And so I was like, I'm just, maybe 5 people will show up. That'd be fun. I just want to teach it. And it ended up being so much more well received than what I had thought. So now I'm realizing that I'm not the only one that's geeking out over this stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And your information, is that mainly channeled information that comes through, or you've done a lot of research?
No, I am always very careful with channeled information, because I know that it, you know, you always take that with a grain of salt, and the person, their interpretation is going to change whatever is coming through. So I don't read a lot of channeled books. I read books that, you know, historians have written, and I'll read many of them, and all of them will have some different take. And I try to gather the pieces that are kind of the uniting themes throughout the different books. And at the end, when I am putting my courses together, I will ask, is there anything I'm leaving out? Or if there's any special message that I didn't share that you'd like me to. So at the end, I will tap in and ask, you know, share with me whatever information I'm missing here. And I'll get amazing things when I do that. And, you know, it's so funny because with this Black Madonna course, because as I had said, that there's so many variations of who she was and her story and what people believe, that I do feel like I'm gonna have to lean a little bit more on that with this class, because I want to know from her and from source, what is this about? Because there are just too many conflicting opinions. So, but I do try to have very factual, grounded information as the basis of the things I teach.
And do you ever, this just dropped in as wow, this would be really nice to do, kind of put people in a meditation space and just get them to connect with the energy of the being?
Yeah, we do that at the end. At the end of each class, I have about a 15-minute meditation where you connect with that energy of the person, and are able to go on a journey with that energy and get information that is relevant to you.
Yeah, nice. I when I do light language activations and some of the stuff that I put out online and in Zoom groups, it's light language that comes through. But in the last one, or the last one but one, and this was a Mother Mary one, it was a real nurturing and holding people one. I started to speak English. So, and that was the first time, and it was like, oh, because I kind of in some ways wanted to do that, and I'd held back from doing that before, but this couldn't really be stopped. And I listened back to it yesterday, and I was like, oh, that's really interesting, because it wasn't me that was speaking. I was still in there. But yeah, that was the first time that's happened.
Wow. You know, I will mention also, I don't know how big your group is, but I do feel like in any group with 100 or more people, there's always a couple of parents who have lost children. And I have been working with a Facebook group of, I think it's like 25,000 parents who have lost children recently, for the most part. So many. And the facilitator of that group had asked me to come in and talk about Mother Mary and her connection to children who have passed or are in hospice or sick. And I was able to write a meditation for that group specifically, connecting them with the energy of Mother Mary and with the energy of their child. So I do plan to put that meditation on YouTube to create something that's just a little cleaner than the Zoom recording I had. And so I'll let you know when I have that, because I do want that to be a tool that parents can use, those who are grieving children right now.
Wow, that's beautiful. So to get hold of you, do you have a website?
I do. You know, I need to just scrap it and start over. It has some stuff on there. It's not a really good way to contact me though, but it is coralnewberry.com. And it's more geared towards, for a long time, I was doing one-on-one psychic development with gifted children and their mothers. So little kids who were seeing things, who had special gifts, and the parents didn't really know how to help them. So I was working with children. So most of the website is about that, and I haven't really changed it over since I've kind of wanted to focus on other things. But a really good way to connect with me is through my email even, which is coralnewberry@gmail.com. Mm-hmm. And Facebook, which is Coral Scarlett Newberry, and Instagram. I have 2 Instagrams, Coral Newberry Art and just Coral Newberry, which is more spiritual one, where I kind of share the classes I'm teaching and things like that. And the other one's just for my paintings. So
yeah, beautiful.
I'm on there, just my website isn't the best though.
Would you put those in the comments when we finish?
Yeah.
For people, please. Thank you. Well, thank you so much. Is there anything else that you want to share? Anything that you've not said that you would like to?
I don't think so. I think I covered most of the things that are relevant to me right now. Thank you so much for having me on. This was really fun.
Thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure. And thank you to everybody who's watched. And I will just invite us back to our heart space so that we leave as we started, with our awareness in our heart space. And let us say to our beautiful hearts, I love you. I love you. I love you. Knowing that the resonance from that will go to every single heart on the planet. Thank you so, so much, Coral. It's been beautiful to chat to you and get to know you a little bit better. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Bye, everybody. See you soon. I'm chatting with Suzanne Amara in about 25 minutes on Suzanne's page. So bye for now.